Folks, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to another episode of Just a Podcast. I am very honored to say that I have Rachel back again here today on the show. And just as always, we're just going to jump right into it.
I
I
have no idea what we're about to
Yeah,
talk
we
about.
just go all around. I
I
brought
sat down about 3 seconds ago,
Yes,
so.
3 seconds ago. I brought my eighth grade
Oh,
student planner here
oh my
today,
lord.
and I thought it has some good questions way in the back here. Let me see if I can, or at the front actually. Let me see if I can find them here. Um, man, it's been a while. Oh, okay. Let me
Oh, they're
see.
like they're like pre-made
Oh
questions.
yes, pre-made questions. I looked way back in the summer of 2020, so I always wanted to go back in here and ask a few questions here. How can failure be a success?
We are diving right into it.
Yes, right here with the first question, folks.
How can wait, one more time. How
How
can
can failure be a
failure be a
success?
success? Do you want the corny answer? Like are we going for like the real answer? Or are we going for like the answer your teacher wants to hear?
Whichever one do you like to
Whichever.
go with?
You gotta ease into these. I guess. Well, my gut wants to say like this is like the corny answer. This is the one
Mhm.
that like if you're thinking about it as in like how do you process stressful stuff? How do you process like a failure or something that goes wrong? And what you're kind of supposed to do and what is good advice is essentially that even though that thing didn't work or even though that thing did the opposite of work,
Mhm.
um, use that experience. You'll find something within every single scenario where whether it was the time you spent or the relationships you made or the little bits and pieces of things that you learned along the way, even if they're unrelated to the thing you wanted to do,
Mhm.
those things will still, in the long run, add up to a success to some point or another. And I think that's super true. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that that's not. I think it's a lot more complicated than that. I think
Mhm.
that every single scenario is different, and then you do lose a lot more than even just the scenario. There's a lot of times where when you fail, it's not just, oh, I failed at this thing. It's to every single person that processes that differently. You can take a lot of steps backwards.
Mhm.
You might have gone 6 steps up as you learned about something, tried something new, and took 8 steps backwards.
Yeah.
So it's a net loss. Um, but I think as far as like turning not I wouldn't even want to phrase it as turning a failure into a success because I think it's still at the end of the day a failure. But I think that a failure isn't the end of it. Like
Okay.
calling it a failure has a negative connotation, but that means that we're adverse to calling it failure. That we're averse to even acknowledging that it is a negative or a failure, and I think that we need to. I
Yeah.
think it's important to acknowledge like, hey, no, that sucked. Like either that performance was bad, or that whole situation sucked, or that relationship was bad. Like we don't need to try to we don't need to sugarcoat this. Like
Mhm.
it was
It
bad, and
was
there was bad
bad.
things about it. But it also just because it is a failure and just because it is bad does not mean that that is all that is, and that doesn't mean that you are a failure.
Mhm.
So it is situation by situation, but that also means it's a situation.
Right.
It's not you. So I think as far as I went into like the abstract point of it, but to call it a failure is important for the situation, but it's not. It doesn't mean that you yourself are a failure.
Mhm.
If that makes any sense.
Right.
I wanted to answer because I could go full into just like, oh, you
Mhm.
just think of the positive,
Yeah.
but I wanted to be like, no, that question, that's a really important thing that I think everybody asks themselves
Yeah.
to some degree, especially in today's world.
Right.
So we might think of 2020 as a failure, and I think to some degree it was. So,
Yeah.
and I think to say it
Yeah.
wasn't is not fair. So that's my hot take on things.
I also think failure can give you perspective on a lot of things.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
you had a certain outlook or vision you wanted for something, and you say, "Oh, I'm so glad that didn't really turn out because my goodness, this project was a mess and a disaster, and I'm glad
Mm-hmm.
that the universe just unplugged the cord on this project and let it just
Mm-hmm.
fizzle out.
I would say I don't say this as in like I never do this because I have definitely done this. But being in the film program, I'm sure you've seen them too. You always get the person who will not admit that something was a failure, that their
Yeah.
decisions were bad. You get that director or writer that's just like, yeah, I'm clinging to this because despite that it's hot garbage,
Mm-hmm.
like it's mine and it needs to. I'm the next Spielberg, and you're like, come on, like just acknowledge that it was bad. Like
Yeah.
please, can we move on?
You just gotta
So
do it. You
I
gotta
think it's
do it.
like you said, it's good for humility too. You really do need to acknowledge where your limits are and call it a failure because if that's what it is, then that's what it is. You know,
Yeah.
and you can move on from that.
I remember one time Brandon Conrad was talking to me about a project that one of his
I thought you were gonna out
friends.
him as being one of
No,
those
no,
people.
no,
I
no,
was like, what are you
Brandon.
doing to Brandon?
That was not what I was gonna do. But if you
We
so
love you,
happen to watch
Brandon.
this, he had a friend that had this project. I think it was the one of the 48-hour film
Okay.
challenges, and I guess things didn't go the way he had planned, and he really took a long time, I guess, getting the film together, not really making an additional cut that everyone was, I guess, looking for.
Yeah.
Took a bit of a delay because he didn't really, I guess, like how everything turned out in that little challenge. But it's
Yeah.
tough. It's 2 days,
Every
perhaps
project
less,
ever. Every
to get
project.
everything you want to do in a 48-hour
Oh yeah.
film challenge, especially that. My
That's
goodness.
that's what's so good about the 48s and 72s. Like for anybody that wants to get into film stuff, like do those as much as possible and fail as hard as you can. Like that sounds like something your professor's going to say that's like on the poster of like a math classroom,
Hmm.
but straight up nobody cares if it sucks because we all know how difficult a 48 is. You don't sleep and everybody hates you if you're the director because you're
Yeah.
just screaming at everybody till 2 in the morning and it's fine. And then you get out of it and then you get a t-shirt and then you either win or you don't and then you're like, cool, I made something in 48
Oh.
hours. And it's like now you have something on your resume even if it's hot garbage.
Uh-huh.
So somehow in the suffering of a 48 it is still one of the most fun things you can do. Like like just if you get into film at all or even if you're not a film person just go do a 48. They're really
Okay.
fun.
Yeah, I've heard stories of, man,
I know this
2
year
a.m. is,
this year we couldn't do 48s and it makes me
yeah.
so sad but yeah.
For the spring semester as well, it's
I
off
don't
the
know. It's
books.
up to the club, and
Oh,
the people I know on that club have not made a definitive statement because they don't know. They don't
okay.
want to say yes, we're having it, and then have to cancel it. So yeah,
Yeah.
because last semester everything was so up in the air that they just went, let's just not. So crossing our fingers that they have
Crossing
one
our
this semester, but
fingers.
we'll see. So
What is the best meal you had on a 48-hour film challenge? Something like
you
maybe like
don't
a
eat.
bacon.
That's the
Oh,
no.
okay.
It's okay. You mostly eat pizza.
All right.
Your director hopefully should order everybody food, and what they do is they just get like 3 pizzas, and then 2 of you eat most of it, and then the rest of them don't eat, and then that's it. Like you
Wow.
eat what you can get, and you eat while you're filming because
Yeah.
it is chaos. But
It's
it's mostly pizza. Yeah,
okay. Just
every
open up
time.
the pantry. I'm gonna make a Twinkie sandwich
Oh
here. I
my
got
god.
a Twinkie, got some pretzels, got some
Oh.
M&Ms.
You grab whatever is
Boom.
convenient and whatever doesn't make noise while you're filming.
Oh yeah,
So,
especially crunchy chips. That's out of
yep,
the picture. You gotta
yep.
toss those to the
You
side.
either send a poor PA to spend 3 hours trying to get food somewhere, or you just order pizza through Grubhub or something. And,
Yeah.
yep, it happens every time.
Pizza's the best though, especially
Mm.
if you weren't expecting it to be good, and you go, "Whoa, wait a minute now, this is top-notch pizza, I'd
Well,
say."
any pizza is good when you're that tired.
Hmm.
When you haven't had any sleep and you've been doing this for almost 48 hours straight, uh, pizza is the best thing you've ever eaten, even
Yeah.
if you're like vegan. Like it's incredible.
Oh my
It's
gosh,
you just
it's
want
delicious.
food. It's so good.
Hmm.
So yes, pizza would be the best meal on a 48 because it's all I've eaten on a
Yeah.
48.
What is your stance on pineapple pizza? Are you for it or are you
Well,
against it?
I'm allergic to pineapple.
Okay,
Like
so automatically
yes.
just
Well, I say
X.
allergic. It's any sort of this will get me in trouble. It's any sort of melon, honeydew, pineapple. I
Okay.
get a sore throat. Like my throat closes up. Like I'm not gonna go to the hospital, but it makes every single thing that has that in it give me a sore throat.
Wow.
So I don't like it, even though the flavor's good.
Mm-hmm.
So like I don't think pineapple on pizza is good anyway, but I have the excuse of I don't eat it.
Yeah, you
because I
can't eat it.
So if you like it, you're entitled to that, I guess,
Mhm.
but you just don't.
Yeah.
Just don't.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Man, this is some
We're
Danny
going back to the
little agenda here. How can being more diligent benefit you? And the definition of diligence is approaching your tasks with discipline, focus, and perseverance, enabling you to reach your goals, essentially.
I mean, the obvious is you're more organized. So in the things that you want to do, because having passion, having something that you want to do, and being emotional and driven about something is like half the battle. But all that goes into 80 different directions if you don't have discipline to organize your future, organize your plans, organize. I'm thinking in school, but also this applies outside of school to really anything. For me, that's my personality. I'm very type A. I'm very organized. So I've never had too much of a problem with that. My own problems with things come in other areas. But for me, something that's always been a strength for me is that I'm really diligent and persistent. And so when I'm like, I want this thing, my next step in my head is how do I get that thing? I don't just sit there in the want. I like go make plans. Sometimes that shuts you down pretty quickly because you'll go, wow, I can't do any of this. So then you get intimidated and you back off. So like there's definitely like, it's the perfectionist trap. So there are people who don't plan ahead and they just get passionate about something and they find the willpower to do it anyway. And they kind of push through those barriers that you put up on yourself. I put those barriers up really early. So it makes committing to something really difficult because I start going, how do I plan this? And then I go, wait a minute, this is tricky. This is difficult. Never mind, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And so I think being diligent is that combination of I have the passion and I'm going to push past those parameters, but it also means I've planned it out. I'm not just going, la, 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 I hope I make it. You are making some sort of goal in mind. And that is something you have to practice a lot.
Oh, yes.
School is actually good for that. School is good for school. But school will teach you, especially college, will teach you how to do that on your own. In high school, teachers do that for you. If you stop doing your homework assignments, they tend to follow up on you.
Hey, what are you doing?
You get out here. Gerber, I love you. I love you for this. He goes, you turn this in, and if it's not turned in, you don't get a grade. And if the deadline passes, he's like, well, too bad. I put it on the website, you know. So, and it's like, that sounds harsh, but that's super, how the industry is and how life is. And it's good to teach yourself how to motivate yourself.
Yeah.
It's really easy to depend on what it says online to motivate you to do the deadline because you're like, oh, I have a date and a time to be done. But to set those for yourself is really, really good. And then it helps you focus on what you actually want to do coupled with what you're capable of doing. So I think being diligent is that wombo combo of all those things. And that's something that every single person, no matter how good you are at it or not, you have to work at. It's not easy for anybody, and if it is, then they're lying. So that's my hot take on that one.
Yeah, I got this, guys. Watch me do this big old challenge thing. Whoa, that's a big goal you got there, pal. Yeah.
I did that to myself this semester. I'm attempting to teach myself how to animate. In my directing class, we have a cinema directing class here, and it's not an animation class.
Yeah.
If you're in the film program here, they don't really talk to you about animation. It's not, they're not neglecting it, but they just don't touch it. And that's totally fair. It's a whole different beast. But my brain decided that's where I want to go. And so I've been teaching myself everything, and I fought hard with 3 different professors about whether or not I could even be allowed to do this. And I got the okay from everybody. And then I sat down and I was like, wait a minute, now I have to actually animate a short film. So I have had to get a big reality check on like what I'm actually capable of doing, because in my head it looks like this, and I've got all these, I've
Mm-hmm.
written the script and it looks like this, and then I go down
Bunnies
to
and
actually do
rabbits.
it, and I'm like, oh God, it takes me like 2 hours to do a frame. Like this is awesome,
Mm-hmm.
So it's very very easy to get swept up in that too, and so you gotta be careful. Doesn't mean give up on what you want to do,
Right.
but you got to be aware that it's not just, you can't just Aaron Yeager your way through life. You can't just want it so badly and scream about it and then it happens. So
Yeah.
you got to just kind of you got to be humble about being passionate.
Yeah.
So
I've always wanted to do an animation, but started drawing the character and they look like a stick. They look like a branch, and I go,
yep.
man, I envision it to be just this beautiful art piece. The little bunnies, the birds are singing, the trees are dancing, everyone's having a good time, and looks as if the dog chew a bit of the page out of
Yes.
the sketch here, and everything's looking chaotic.
Yeah, I'm still very baby beginner. Like I still have a lot to learn, and there's still fundamentals that I'm not quite clicked into yet. But something that everybody's been telling me that's actually helped me progress somewhat quickly is you just study people, just watch people draw from life. So sit down and do like 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day of just people moving and sitting, and just do the quickest sketch of their torso, arm movement, and do what's called an action line. And there's usually one or two, sometimes more, depending on who you are. But it's how to make those people go from standing like this
Mm-hmm.
to actually moving and being in what's called a dynamic pose. And so that you can really only get by doing it over and over again.
Yeah.
It's got to be something that your brain starts to click into. I've gotten to the point where I can kind of do it, but I have to have a reference. I don't have the muscle memory yet, and that just comes with time. So it's annoying to hear. I remember getting super annoyed by hearing this, but it's super true. It's just, you just got to keep doing it
Yeah.
over and over and over again until your brain goes, wait, that makes sense. And then you
Uh-huh.
add a step. And once your brain goes, wait, that makes sense, then you add a step. And then you'll go, wait, none of it makes sense. And then you give it a little bit, and you're like, oh, wait, no, I get it. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's a process. And I am still really bad, but it's getting better incrementally. And that's because I do it every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an adventure. Animation is a
Yeah.
beast. And people that do it easily, you are
Oh.
gods. I don't understand. Oh, man.
Reminds me of the animator versus animation series, which is still going on to this very day, which is
I remember
insane.
that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was like early YouTube, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, that's fun.
The animator's still going with it. I think
They're
they're
still
on
like to this
6
day.
or 7 or something like that,
Oh
and it
my
has
goodness,
evolved.
that's awesome. Good for them. That's
Yeah.
funny. McDonald's isn't great, but the oh my god, the freaking breakfast sandwich that they have. What's it called?
I think it's called the McBiscuit,
No.
McSausage.
It's like the classic breakfast sandwich. I'm really dumb, and it's on the tip of my tongue.
So someone studio audience, do we have anyone that they're shaking their heads.
God. My brain is just done. What are the main breakfast sandwiches? It's like on the English bagel or English muffin, and then it's just an egg and cheese.
Oh gosh.
Oh my god.
How has this escaped my memory?
I hate that I can't come up with this because
Yeah.
I should. It's the only thing I order.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's the most popular like breakfast item.
Yeah. Here's
but-
the text in post.
Yeah, eventually.
Zoom.
If I come up with it mid-sentence, it'll be there. But that's the best breakfast.
Okay.
It's McDonald's. I don't want to know what it's made of. Nobody break the news.
Just
to me that
don't
it's
do it.
What it's made of, because it's good.
Yeah.
So, oh man, but yeah, that's my favorite breakfast.
Okay.
The bacon's okay, but just the egg and the cheese is where it's at.
I used to have their pancakes, and oh my goodness,
I
you
like those are
take out the little sauce, the packet little thingy for the syrup, take that off, and then just go to town with the syrup.
I feel like I remember their pancakes being really like thin.
Yeah.
Like they tasted like half of it was air somehow. Like
Yeah.
there was not a lot of pancake in the pancake, and I was like, you're just done in 2 seconds. You're like, that wasn't food. It was like cotton candy. Like you like in the minute it's in your mouth, it's like half gone. You're like, oh, okay.
They make the batter, open the window, have it stick out for a little bit, get the air in there, and
Oh
mix it
my
up,
goodness.
put it on the
Yeah.
griddle, serve it to you right
Yeah.
there.
I know McDonald's, I'm assuming, does this, but I know like IHOP and Denny's, they have pre-made mixes for pancakes and eggs, and they probably fluff them. That's probably why they're so light.
hmm
People, I have never worked in the kitchen in these places, so don't quote me on this. But what I understand about it is that they do that, and so then when people order stuff, they just pour, flip, boom. They're not like sitting there adding all the ingredients and making it like when you go through the drive-thru,
Yeah.
obviously. And so, but I would imagine that they're gonna put a lot of water in it to make it look like there's more food than there is, which is what they do. And so I would imagine that's probably why it looks like there's a lot of food, and then you take a bite and you're like, that's not food.
Yeah.
But I don't have any proof. That's my theory.
The theory that is out in the world.
Oh.
How many pancakes have you been able to consume?
Like ever?
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea.
Okay.
We used to, well, I guess a pancake-related story then would be here, my friends and I used to do Saturday breakfasts, and we would all meet up at somebody's apartment, and it was supposed to be I would make pancakes for everybody. But chocolate chip pancakes are the best ones.
Okay.
Chocolate chip pancakes are where it's at. And,
Man.
yeah.
Chocolate chip pancakes, folks. That's where it is.
But no, I have no idea how many pancakes I've
Okay.
eaten in my lifetime, because it's got to be a lot.
I strive to be the man that can eat 5 pancakes.
5 pancakes?
Mm-hmm.
Ever?
Yeah.
Or
For
at
5
once.
big sized, IHOP
Oh, at
size
once.
pancakes.
Okay, I thought you
yeah.
meant like ever in your life.
No.
I was like, okay. I think you can eat 5.
Yeah, that's doable. But...
Oh my god, those Denny's platters that they serve at like 2 in the morning that are
Oh
like
my goodness.
crazy. Yeah, you get like the freaking giant stack of them at certain diners and stuff. They'll challenge you to eat them.
Yeah.
Ugh, going to food coma for the rest of the week.
Yeah. You just finished that challenge, and for 2 weeks you're just watching the football game because you can't really get up. You gotta let the
Exactly.
food
So that's in your future,
digest.
right? Is what you're saying?
5 pancakes that I have,
Yep,
and
alright.
won't be a challenge. Just want to be able to eat them all without.
Oh, you wanna like build up. You wanna like
Yeah,
work out and like
build up.
practice,
Mhm.
and so you get to. It's like that. Do you ever watch Regular Show?
No.
No, you know what it is though, right?
Yes.
There's a whole episode where they're trying to complete this challenge at a restaurant. It's like this huge, like I think it's steak or something, but it's like this huge food challenge, and they're like, no one's ever done it. No one's ever. You have to eat it within the hour, and if they win, they get some sort of prize. It's like money or something. And so they do this whole training montage where they start like eating little bits, and they get more and more and more, and they put it in blenders, and they like drink it, and they like do this whole thing, and it's really funny. And so the end of every episode, if you've ever watched that show, every episode gets just absolutely insane by the end of it. There's some supernatural something going on, so they start eating they take the challenge, and like halfway through they get like warped to another dimension or something, and they're like going on like an acid trip. If you've never seen this show, it's incredible.
Whoa.
But it is hilarious. But yeah, so you need to do that training montage.
Training
to go eat your
montage.
5 pancakes at Denny's or whatever.
I always see Dwayne Johnson's cheat meal days, and they are insane levels
my
of
God.
food serving. I saw one where it was 24 things of sushi and a massive bowl of soy sauce.
It does
I
not
go,
surprise me.
How can he do that?
Does not surprise me.
My goodness. You can eat
Eat
24
all of it, yeah.
without a problem.
That sounds like fun, to be that fit, to be able to just kind of splurge like that and not, like you get to enjoy all that hopefully, and eat all that and not change. Like if you did that all the time, you'd have a problem. But sounds like he's made a system that works. So
My goodness.
that sounds like fun.
That's how you gotta get there. A whole thing of cake without feeling the repercussions.
Oh, yeah.
To the level.
That's
boom,
peak performance.
It's just the breeze
What
on
do you
the
want
shoulders.
out of life? Do you want like a happy marriage? Do you want kids, a family? No, I want to be able to just eat just hundreds. Like
Yes.
I just want to eat hundreds of pounds of food and never gain weight. That'd be great.
That'd be fantastic. And the next day, you write out your workout routine. Okay, I gotta do 2 hours on the treadmill, 500 push-ups.
Yeah,
It
that's
must
true. That's
be.
the unhappy reality behind that.
hmm I'll be fine today, but tomorrow, I
Exactly.
gotta
Exactly.
pump out the calories, the carbs, all that stuff.
Yeah, cheat day. This is why it's called a cheat day. It's not
hmm
cheat week.
Yeah. As a kid, that happened a lot. Where I'm just gonna have one cheat day. Then you see the bag of groceries sitting on
Oh
the
yeah.
kitchen island,
The ones
and
you didn't buy because
hmm
you have no concept of money, and so you just go, "Oh, sweet." And then
dang it, Mom! I love Oreos, but there's two in there, and oh my goodness, this may be a grave mistake. And they don't last probably 2 weeks.
oh yeah. I mean, kids can get away with that a little bit more than adults. Kids have the
The
fastest
superhuman
metabolisms. Oh
stomachs.
yeah. Oh yeah. So it's very rare that kids can not get away with a cheat day, but still.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I could eat a medium pizza by myself, no
Oh
problem.
man.
I try to do that now. Fifth pizza, I'm gonna have to take a 10-day
Yeah, yeah, that's
rest of
fair.
sleep.
I will say this though, guys I've noticed eat, and I know this is biological, but guys eat more, are able to eat more than girls, like, and not gain as much weight. Everybody's different, every single person's different, but most of my guy friends naturally eat a lot more, even like skinny dudes I know. So we've always had funny conversation about that, where I'll have like a slice or two of pizza and be like, "Man, I'm full," and they're like,
What are you talking
they're
about?
like, "I'm halfway through the pizza and still going." Like, and
Yeah.
I just, so we always, it's always funny to witness where we'll be the exact same. Like we will look very similar. I know my guy friends, there's some of them are very skinny, and yet they'll still clear through like half a pizza, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
what? So it's always funny to see those
Uh-huh.
differences too.
Some days, I mean, I have days where my food portions are equivalent to a quarterback on the NFL some days. You go
Oh
a
yeah.
couple hours without eating, you just build up that need of, I need more
Yep.
of the protein, I need more veggies, I need more of this.
Yep.
Stack
Yep.
it on the plate.
Just
There we
hits
go.
you in the right way. You're like, I need either healthy food or not. You're just like, this specific thing, I need it right now, and I need large quantities of it.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Are you able to drive by a fast food restaurant, disciplining yourself to be, no, I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna keep driving. I'm not gonna turn the car into the. You can keep on going.
I would say yes, only because I'm not like a healthy eater. I wouldn't actively be like, oh, I eat only this, and I always make sure I have a salad.
Yeah.
Like I don't really pay attention to that,
Okay.
but I do know when I'm full. Like I have a really good radar for that. So if I'm really hungry, it's like, oh, cane sounds so good or something like that. Like
Mhm.
it like you have to go. But if I'm full or if I'm like not that hungry, I'll be like, okay, bye. Like I don't.
Mhm.
So I guess so, but it's probably not for the same reasons as most people.
Yeah.
It's not a war with myself to leave. It's usually just like, yeah, I don't need it. So, and money.
Mhm.
Money's a great motivator for not. I'm like, do I really need to spend $10 on
Yeah.
Lay's today? No, I don't. Like,
Oh no.
but yeah. So I've never really had a huge problem with it. I'm also kind of picky, so it's very
Mhm.
rare that something strikes me that strongly that I have to stop and go.
I gotta get it.
Yeah.
I'm so glad there's no funnel cake shops
Oh my gosh.
made, because if there were, I'd have a huge problem.
Ugh. It makes me want to throw up because you eat, like, there's so much. They always give you so much funnel cake when you get them, and it's just too much. It's good, but it's too much.
Yeah, that's the thing where they just load it in there. The
Maybe
most
it's
loaded, delish piece of goods ever created in
Oh,
existence.
reminds me of SeaWorld. I live somewhat close to SeaWorld, and so we would go there a lot, and they have the best funnel cakes. And like Dole Whip ice cream. The one
Oh,
pineapple
snap.
thing I can have for some
Okay.
reason. Because it's fake, because it's not real pineapple. But, oh man, that stuff slaps. It's so good.
Mm-hmm. My goodness. I didn't have a lot of things growing up, but I didn't have funnel cake until I was 16.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's carnival, classic carnival food galore.
Mm-hmm.
That and like caramel popcorn and stuff like that. Oh,
My
it's the best.
goodness. Have you ever been able to eat any of those carnival chicken thigh wings that are insanely massive?
Oh
That
yeah, that's another SeaWorld memory.
Wow.
They're like $10 a leg, but they sell giant turkey legs that they literally roast out in front of you. If you go, have you ever been to SeaWorld? I don't know
Yes.
if you, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you know the water rapids ride, where it's like through an abandoned pirate ship, and it like does this whole thing. It's like in the corner of the park.
Oh man.
It's like Shipwreck Cove or something is what it's
Okay.
called. It's a whole section of the park. And as you walk in, I literally know exactly where it is. There's like a whole bar, but it's like a whole grill, and they just have them rotating through. They just roast giant turkey legs, and you can get a turkey leg, and then you can go a little bit down and grab an ice cold beer.
Oh my goodness.
And just chill at SeaWorld watching dolphins, eating turkey legs and drinking beer, and it is the best thing ever. My dad and I do it every time we go. It is so funny. So yeah, that stuff, you can't top SeaWorld's.
Mm-hmm.
Like carnival stuff's fine. You can't top those freaking turkey legs.
Yeah. Oh goodness.
It's a very specific SeaWorld memory that has nothing to do with marine animals.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna click back on that guy. He clicks off on me sometimes. All right, folks, we're back. Studio audience decided to have a little quick dinner break, so we had to stop and let them get something to eat. And they're calm.
Legs.
Yeah, the turkey legs. They managed to fly there and come back in 5 minutes.
It's worth it.
It was definitely worth it. They're still eating it. Someone's got some blob stuff on their shirt from the grease from the chicken. It's a lot of stuff.
Dude, I haven't had dinner. This whole conversation is making me
It's
very
like,
hungry.
oh, I can't contain it.
Speaking of the moments when I actually can't restrain myself from going to get food, it's one of those moments.
Mm-hmm. Does SeaWorld ever have ice cream cones that are insanely tall, where they have a shop where they fill the ice cream 10 stories or something?
I think they might have a place like that. They have a lot of odd food places.
Oh, gosh.
They have, like, in almost every restaurant you can go to, though, they do, like, a little ice cream bar, and it's shaped to look like a whale coming out of the water. They have cute little desserts and stuff like that. I think they do have, like, not a self-serve, but, like, one of the soft-serve ice cream places where they'll just pile it on, but I can't confirm that.
Okay.
The turkey leg's the only one that I can absolutely guide you to, and I don't know about the ice cream. My not scientist, not proven, this is probably Wikipedia information, but I think I've heard that brain freezes are just kind of weird. It's just our brains just like, what is temperature?
Yeah.
So.
Oh, gosh.
So, it's just interesting.
Mm-hmm. Wikipedia is only accurate when it comes to film stuff.
Yeah,
Actors, producers, writers, movies, and that's about it, folks.
This is a fun thing that I only learned after high school, which I absolutely wish I'd known before.
Mm-hmm.
You know how it's a big taboo no to cite Wikipedia, right?
Yeah.
And that's still true. Like Wikipedia is open to editing from anybody. You don't have to have any sort of certification. So that's why there's memes on there. That's why people mess around, and I get it. But if you go down to the bottom, if you scroll down to the bottom, you can find the sources to a lot of the information that they put. So let's say you're looking up basic information about something and you want to get into the specifics, you want to cite it for an essay or something. Don't cite Wikipedia, but go to the sources of the information that you found that is helpful. Mm-hmm. And if they're valid, you'll know if it's valid or not, but go to those sources and cite those. And so Wikipedia is super helpful, and this is what it was meant to be used for, was to be that like kind of in between the information and the sources for you to use. People like to just cite the in-between person and not go straight to the source, and that's where you get in trouble with teachers, and rightfully so. But if you follow up that source, just a couple links down the rabbit trail, it's like, oh, now you have all kinds of information you can use, as opposed to having to use Google itself to go and find your websites. Go to Wikipedia. Actually use Wikipedia.
Yeah,
you don't have to avoid it.
Yeah.
But just go like one step further and go into those sources. And it's super helpful. And I've used that plenty for research papers since.
Yeah.
And I was like, why did my professors tell me to never click on Wikipedia?
Don't click on it.
Wikipedia is super helpful. Just don't only rely on Wikipedia.
Yeah. I was growing up, and still sometimes with research, it's tough to find the ones that fit with what you're trying to write and the pacing and the transitions from paragraph to paragraph. You got to find the right source to put in there
And all the
and
rules about, like, I'm always paranoid about the plagiarizing thing too. Where
oh
you're like, I
yeah.
want to take the information, but is it gonna cite me? Am I gonna get flagged just for citing the exact date and time that this
Mhm.
other person put? And it's like, oh my god. But the that's actually my other major is professional writing, and so we talked a lot
Oh,
about
okay.
how to write research papers, how to properly format, like all that stuff. Which, if even if you're not a professional writer
Mhm.
or a writer at all, if you're a nursing student, if you're whatever, like, take some sort of professional writing class. The ones that they give you in high school and like the English 105 and 106 are typically not gonna cut it. Like, everybody rolls their eyes, and I do too, because they're not usually all that great.
Yeah.
But if you go an extra step and you actually take some sort of technical writing class, they break down like what you'll actually be doing in a professional work environment that goes beyond just how to write in the 5 paragraph breakdown.
Mhm.
Here's my thesis statement, 1, 2, 3, like the thing we all get hammered to death about. You take any sort of writing class beyond that, and they'll go, yeah, that only matters when you don't know how to do this. And so
Mhm.
then you actually learn how to write. So it's definitely worth it, because it's helped me even in this climate that we're in. It teaches you how to like follow up on sources and how to check check your sources and check the validity of what it is you're reading and find the truth and all that stuff. And it's still hard, but it like when people post stuff about, oh, this website said that this is happening, or this survey said that this, my brain immediately goes, red flag. What does that mean? I gotta follow that source, because of these classes I've taken that have taught me how to do that. Because if you just try to do that on your own, you're going to end up in the endless maze that is the internet,
Yeah.
where everybody's claiming that they're right. But when you've taken classes where you've had somebody over your shoulder going, here is how to process this information, here's how to sift through all the jargon and get to like what they're actually saying and whether or not it's actually valid,
Right.
it's super helpful. It's super helpful, even if you're not a writer, even if you don't ever want to do anything with writing. It's good critical thinking, which is, again, I've been saying a lot about how good school is, and I'm really not that nerdy, I promise. But college has helped me be like, oh, this is actually relevant. This is actually interesting.
Whoa.
It's not just school.
Nice.
But that's just me.
Yeah.
My experience is a little bit unique. I've written live action, and I do like it, but I tend to write animation more. I have more fun with that. And that is extremely visual. More so than a live action would be. You do need to be more specific about movements. In a live action, it's implied how humans move and how they appear. You know, you'll essentially, like, you could be like, oh, he's wearing this. He's wearing a loose collared shirt because he just got fired. So that's an important like distinction to make. Here's why he's wearing this shirt is because he's this. So sometimes you do have to be specific, but when you get into animation, you've got, especially like Disney animation kind of style, you've got bizarre non-human characters, you've got colors, and so the things happening on screen, every movement, every expression is, one, budgeted. Every expression that happens is budgeted, and two, it's a lot. It needs to be a lot more intentional. You don't have actors performing for the most part. You have animators creating a performance. And so in the script and in the storyboards, which is another huge deal with animation, you do have to be pretty specific. So what I do, because sometimes when you have not a lot of dialogue and you have a lot of action like that, it gets in those big paragraphs, right? And nobody wants to read that.
Yeah. Oh my
So
gosh.
my thing is, I get kind of specific, and I have been told I get too specific because I think about it as if I would direct it. But that's not always a bad thing. But I do need to kind of wait until I've got some sort of relationship with directors before I start telling directors how to direct.
Right.
It's like, I haven't directed, so chill, But I digress. It's what I break up those paragraphs into shots.
Okay.
So whenever my head sees the camera shift, or when I see a moment shift, like a beat shift, or a character expression change, or a character tactic change, where instead of, they'll be trying to stop somebody from leaving a room, and then all of a sudden, rather than pull, they try to get around them. And so then I break up that paragraph. So even if I'm still talking about the same character, I've started a new paragraph because it's a different thought. It's a different moment for that character. And it also breaks up the page. So you don't have these big old fat chunks of dialogue or of action that a producer's going to look at and go, I don't want to read through that.
What
Like,
is
it's way
this?
too much. And so it's you have to be really intentional about every single word. And so me personally, I do get a little bit detail oriented, and I think that animation calls for that. But that can be my trap too, is that I get too specific about even he turns and looks and he da 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 da, and his movement does this and his hand does this, and it's like, chill out. Like I need to back off a little bit and let that be up to the imagination of the reader and the producer, and I don't have to dictate so much. So I definitely lean on the side of specifics as opposed to vague.
Yeah.
But I would argue it's a lot easier to rein yourself in from that than to try to get stuff out of you that you don't have. You don't have an idea, it's hard to conjure it. But if you have a big idea and you want to rein it in, it's a lot easier. So it can be painful, but it's so easier.
You're like,
you're like, I want this character in, and then your professor's like, that's not a good character for your script. Like, it just doesn't work. And you're like, no! And so, yeah, that's always fun. But it happens. It happens a lot.
Just had the alternate version on the side, and you kind of write that, and then you have the one that goes, and
you always have the one scene, you're like, man, this is so cool. Like, I can visualize this. Like, it's so emotional, and it hits you in this way. You start writing out your script. You get to the part where you want that scene. You're like, wow, that doesn't fit at all. Like, that does not flow at all with the script, and that's always the most heartbreaking. There's a book. What's it called? Well, I don't know if it's a book, but it's like one of those famous screenwriters talks about the how to kill your darlings. I forget who it is. It's not Robert McKee, I don't think. But it's some big screenwriter talks about that, about how to take criticism and how to let go of the things that you think are making your script work, because if you're having to fight that hard for them, there's probably a reason they don't flow. And so it's an interesting, again, back to humility, tying this all back to that. You do have to be aware when something is going to fail, and be able to change that, because if you can't acknowledge that, you're going to look like that guy you're going to look like M. Night Shyamalan, who's trying to justify a really bad decision because it's the name attached, so you got to be able to know when to cut your losses.
Yeah.